What's good, DOXAHOLICS? My name is Rorvis Paradox, aka Dox Brando, and I'd like to walk you all to another installment of Rorvis Reviews. Today's episode is about legacy sequels. I will be defining them, talking about kind of how I feel about them, as well as going through three examples slash reviewing some legacy sequels. One that I like, well, not like one that I love, one that I'm kind of meh about, and one that I just dislike. Now I'm going to get into some real important information. Now, my Doxaholics, we have a goal for this channel now. The goal is 500 subscribers before the end of the year. I believe we can accomplish this, but I do need y'all help. So share the link of your favorite video from me so far, any and everywhere, to folks that you think will enjoy my type of content, as well as if you're a real Doxaholic, you'll hit that notification bell so you don't miss when videos drop. Also follow me on IG at DoxBrando25 to stay up to date. Now, with all that being said, let's get into it. Now, what is a legacy sequel? Well, a legacy sequel, also known as a requel to some, pays homage to original movies while providing an updated perspective, exploring previous untapped parts of a cinematic world. They tend to introduce new characters, settings, and concepts. This is the key difference compared to a regular sequel, which picks up where the previous movie left off. So, this is where, you get a chance to, expand upon things that weren't touched in other films, as well as, kind of being able to just get back to something great and see if you can make it greater. But in some cases, I feel that legacy sequels are just cash grabs. Honestly, I feel that they're going back to well-known franchises just for a buck, and it's kind of sad sometimes where, especially when it's a complete series. Like, this usually happens like when it's just either one great standalone film or it's a trilogy, and they always go back to make a fourth movie some point in time, and it's usually just like not up to par. There's things lacking in nature of the film. Maybe it's because it lacks the heart of the previous films. Maybe it's because the director's not back at the helm. Maybe it's just because instead of using practical effects, they're using just special effects. And there's many reasons why a legacy sequel can fail, but I definitely have witnessed legacy sequels thrive and shine. I've seen legacy sequels that had the heart and soul of the previous films, but tried all it could to extend it to a whole nother level, or at least meet the level of the previous film. And that's something that I love about legacy sequels that are good, that are great. Those are the ones where it's just like I cherish and I kind of always gravitate towards, but it's those ones that are just lackluster, half-hearted, not even half-hearted, like quarter-heartedly made, that, make me sad and sick. So that is, what a legacy sequel is and how I feel about them. I definitely think it's possible to make a good to great legacy sequel that can either meet or exceed, in some cases, previous films, but it has to, be made with care. It can't I think you have some people involved with previous films. I think you have to have, great cameos, or bringing back the older characters. And if you're going to bring in new characters, make us care about them. Don't make them just like, kind of bland. There's ways to do it. And as long as it's done, I believe that it's possible to make something great. But now it's time for me to get into the first film I'm going to talk about. Now, the first film I'm going to talk about is Top Gun Maverick, directed by Joseph Kosinski, debuting in 2022. Now, this right here is a great example of a legacy sequel. Even though it's been 36 years since the first film's release, somehow this film was executed phenomenally. Tom Cruise is back as Captain Pete Mitchell, better known as Maverick, and what I love about this film is that it starts off just like the first film, very nostalgic, going through the little piece by piece information about what Top Gun is, as well as just the intro for like seeing the fire jets just take off and just doing their thing. And it's just like we're getting really back to basics, and then it kind of switches up to bring us into modern times. And that's when we get to bring back to see Maverick in modern day. And from my research, basically the film is kind of set 2010s, 2020-ish timeline, so it makes sense. But what I liked about is finding out where Maverick is now in his life, and he's kind of in the same space. You know, he's done some great things for America as a pilot, as an aviator, but someone of his caliber, everybody keeps mentioning that, you know, you're still a captain now. Like, why is that? And it's because Maverick is Maverick. He's still kind of brash, still kind of cocky, still an asshole, but he's definitely matured, and matured some a lot actually. What I liked about this film is the new motive for why he returns back to Top Gun, because at the end of the movie he's supposed to be a teacher for Top Gun, but we find out very early in the film that, you know, he left after 3 months. So like he didn't really last that long as a teacher. It's just like, it's kind of, in that aspect, I'm like, but it makes sense for somebody that's such a wild card to not be so by the books. So that's something that I found very interesting of the film, as well as the main plot of the film. He's brought back to Top Gun to teach this new group of elite, best of the best aviators, and train them to prepare for a mission that they may not come back from. And what I liked about this was Maverick is still haunted by the loss of Goose. You know, even in moments, it's been 30 years, and very early in the film, there's a moment where he's like, "Talk to me, Goose." He's still saying that. He still misses his friend and still like kind of look for him to advice. And he doesn't want any of these young recruits to lose one of their, you know, their peers. So it's always, he's in a level where he's like, I gotta, you know, train them as hard as I can, push them to their limits they never knew they could reach, just so they can come back home alive, you know. And I think that's a very powerful message and shows a lot of maturity for Maverick, you know. And something that was also great about the film is like a lot of the callbacks. And the difference between, you know, a good legacy sequel and a bad legacy sequel is if the callback or cameo is good. And there's a lot of new versions of scenes we've seen before that come up, and seeing that Maverick is the old guy now, and they're kind of like laughing at him a bit, but he shows them all up. It kind of shows them that he still got it, and shows them where they're lacking at as aviators, you know. I think that was very interesting and well done. I think as a legacy sequel, I don't know how they did it, but the moments of tension and like uneasiness and nervousness and anxiousness I feel when they're in the air during some moments definitely meet or exceed the first movie. It's just that they're really pushing themselves, and some of this is just in training. He's just trying to get them prepped for what's really going to happen, and from there he's going to decide who he's going to put on the team. And there comes a moment where, you know, he's really letting them know that like there's a possibility they might not come back, but he really is training them as hard as he can. And as this is going on, he's dealing with the repercussions of how he's dealing with Goose's son. Goose's son is named Bradley Bradshaw, and codenamed Rooster, which is keeping the flock alive, I guess. But Rooster is mad at Maverick because not only does he kind of blame him for his dad's death, we find out that Maverick kind of pushed the papers of Rooster to delay him from becoming an aviator. So like he delayed him by another 4 years, you know, wasting time off his career. And we find out why later in the movie, and that's something that I think you should this is definitely something y'all should check out. But it's just, he's just trying to do everything he can as best he can, and it's just sad to see it's real. It's like really emotional to see how he's dealing with this. And then I like how uh this legacy sequel brings up a character mentioned in the first movie and makes her actual character and makes her kind of like pretty vital to the film, and that's Penny Benjamin. Penny Benjamin, if you recall watching the first film, was the daughter of a high-ranking official that Maverick had a good time with, to say the least, and kind of got in trouble for. But now she's a real character, and we get to see Maverick interact with somebody else on a different level that he does with everybody on the usual case, and that's basically all I want to like really say about the film. I don't want to get too much into it. I definitely think this is a film y'all should check out for yourselves. Right now, I'm gonna get into the highlights, and how can Tom Cruise not be the highlight? Somehow he's still the cocky asshole that we first met in 86, but he's definitely brought it to another level in sense of like really showing his maturity and trying to help these youngsters overcome this obstacle, because he really doesn't want anyone to go through what he's went through, and what he went through was during training. He doesn't even want to imagine someone dying in battle, in combat, and not being able to recover the body. Things of that nature is really, that whole plot point is just oozing through the whole film, and it's driving its way home. Another thing I want to highlight is Miles Teller as Lieutenant Bradley Bradshaw, aka Rooster. Number one, it is insanely crazy how much Miles looked like Anthony Edwards from the first film. It's like it really looked like they are father and son, and I like Miles' character's acting as well in this film. He's able to give us somebody that's angry at Maverick, somebody that's going through a lot of turmoil within himself, and he has a lot of own issues, and I think he plays it off well. Another is Jennifer Connelly as Penny Benjamin. As I stated before, she was a great foil for Maverick, as well as somehow they were able to build chemistry for characters we'd never seen interact on like within like the cinematic world, but it actually feels like there's a lot of history there. So I thought that was done excellent. Lastly, I'm so glad they brought Val Kilmer back as Iceman. It's sad that he lost his voice during this time frame, so like he couldn't really talk. But I like how in film, and because it's more modern, he's using a smartphone to text back and forth with Maverick to just like have those real heartfelt conversations that are needed to be said, because Maverick, the only person that can get through Maverick is Iceman, and he understands him, and Iceman has been looking out for him. He's the reason he's still a captain. So I enjoyed that, as well as finding out that there's a scene where Val Kilmer does get to speak, and I thought he actually did talk, but what they did was they got his son in the booth, and like they kind of like edited it a bit so that like it sounded like him, and it was just like not that long. It's not that long of us hearing him speak, but I thought it was very excellent. Overall, this film was great. I believe I gave it 4 stars, and that's what I'm gonna say right now. Yeah, this is a very great legacy sequel, one of my favorites, and honestly, I can't wait to rewatch it. I don't know when I'm gonna do it, but it's definitely one of those that's gonna be on the rewatch list. The next film I'm going to be talking about is the 2008's Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull, directed by Steven Spielberg. Now, this film is the epitome of meh, in my opinion. This has moments of being good, but the things I don't like about it definitely bring it down. It's been 19 years since the last film. 1989's The Last Crusade, and the film is set in 1957. What's different this time around is Indy's not facing the Nazis this time. He's not facing some cult leader. He's not facing Nazis again. This time it's Soviet agents led by Colonel Dr. Irene Spalko, portrayed by Kate Blanchett. And this whole ordeal is different because just the opening is different from every Indiana film up till this point. Every indie film starts with him right in the adventure. That's how we see it. Every like things are already popping off. That's how we get into it. But this film, it starts off with like some young kids, some young teenagers just driving a car fast as hell in the on the highway, and some military cars are next to them. They're trying to like get the person to race them, and then the person kind of starts trying to compete, but the car is just too fast. They go off. Then they get to a military base, and you're like, yeah, everything looks okay. Then it's like, oh my god, like they just killed the other guards, and this is when you find out, oh, these are not actual American soldiers. Okay, now we're starting to feel like an indie film, and then we get to a military base, and it turns out to kind of be Hangar 51, not Area 51, but what we find out later is basically Area 51, and Spalko throws Indy and his associate to the ground, Mac. They throw both of them to the ground and tells them, look for what you found that one time. And Mac turns out to be a traitor. Indy always has one of those every occasion. And Indy uses gunpowder to track the thing that they're looking for because it's magnetized. And then he finds it. And it's like, no one really knows what it is, but like they need it for some devious plot. So he tries to fend them off, but early in the movie, Indy's not going to win this fight right now. But that leads us to a situation where we meet this new character, and he goes by the name of Mutt Williams, and he's looking for his mom. One of his mentors is going missing as well, and the mom kind of went looking for him and got caught up by the same people, both the Russians, with the Soviets. Now, with this going on, we get to see interactions with Mutt. He's kind of brash, arrogant, but he's smart though, and he can throw a good punch or two. So he makes a good protege for Indy. So everything's kind of going smooth. Like this is usually what happens with Indy. He usually has somebody that he takes under his wing for certain missions. And later into the film, we find out that Mutt's mom is actually Marion Blackwood, and we haven't seen Marion since the first movie. Like we haven't seen her in forever. This is the original love interest, and Indy her just kind of like mad, also flirting, going through that, and this is where she reveals that Mutt's real name is not Mutt Williams. It's Henry Jones the Third. This is Indiana Jones' son. And he's like, bro, what? This is like a huge revelation for the series. This is adding on something crazy to such a well-established franchise. And I think it was very risky, but at the time, it's not that bad. It wasn't that bad, in my opinion. I think it's a kind of fine update. And if they were to move up, if Shia doesn't do what Shia does, I think he could have possibly stepped into that mantle, and we could have had something new going on. It could have been very fun. But that's neither here or there. So this is where Falco shows Indy what was in that case that they took, and it's a crystal skull. And she goes on to say, yeah, we believe aliens came to this planet, helped out, and we're going to use them or their technology to be able to put the Soviet way into millions of people's minds to brainwash them. And this is such a convoluted plot for an Indiana Jones film. We've been going off of myths and legends, and that's fine to find out those to be true, and there's somewhat mythical and magical elements within Indiana Jones to match the history and science, right? But for this, it's a stretch. And it's I don't know if this was a good move, but I wasn't too deterred like I would be with the Dial of Time. That's a review for another time if I ever feel like doing it. But so honestly, I don't want to get too far into depth with the movie. I think it's something y'all should check out for yourself. But I will kind of get into the highlights now to kind of say how I feel and what made it good. Of course, Harrison Ford at the forefront again is always going to be good. Uh, I gotta give him, I gotta tip my hat because he was 64 while filming this, and he's still looking like he got gas in the tank. He's moving. He was still in shape. He was saying he was trained for like I forgot how long he's trained, but he was working out, still a pretty good condition. But he got back to working out even greater, and he was spending like 3 months or so cracking that damn whip. And still crazy how our hero uses a whip, but I'm not gonna go further in that. But he did a great job for his performance. Shia LaBeouf as his son Henry Jones III. I thought it was very interesting, and this is very early into the run Shia was about to go into. I think Transformers dropped the year before, then this drops, and then Transformers 2. So like Shia LaBeouf was really getting to his bag at this point, and he does pretty well doing his shtick. I gotta give him a nod as well because during the fight, one of my favorite scenes in the film is a fight scene in the jungle between him and Spalko. He ended up tearing his rotator cuff and also tearing his groin later after. So like he really put his body on the line for this film, and it definitely shows in certain aspects. But he also has one of my least favorite scenes where he's swinging on a vine, singing through vines in the jungle with monkeys, and it's digital monkeys, and like the way all of it doesn't look good. But like the actual fight scene, love it. Now Spalko, played by Kate. I said it was Kate. Kate Blanchett. Kate Blanchett. So Kate Blanchett, she did a good job for an Indiana Jones villain. Definitely another one of those villains with high aspirations, kind of insane, little demented, fights well, and is willing to do any and everything to get what she wants, just like previous. So I think she does a great job. So I'm not going to hate on her for any form, and the performance was well done as well. And I think she probably, either second or third best comeuppets in an Indiana Jones film. Like, Indiana Jones villains, they usually get what's coming to them, and this definitely occurs in this film for her. So I will tip my nod to that. Seeing Karen Allen come back to play Marion Blackwood again was great to see. Still got the quips, still has like this sassy attitude sassy and pissy attitude towards Indiana Jones, but there's no one that loves him more than her. So I love seeing their interactions back on camera again. And that's about it for the highlights. I think I gave this a 3.5 stars, and that's where I'm gonna stick to. The film, like I said, is meh. It has points where it's like I like it to love it, and there's like points where it's like, but it's just one of those films, and it's definitely something I think you should get your own opinion of. So definitely check it out. Now, the last film I'm going to talk about is a film I talked about last week, The Matrix Resurrection, directed by Lana Wachowski in 2021. 20 years since the last movie, and like I said, this is one of those films where it just feels like a crash grab. I'm sorry, there's something that's just missing. Maybe it's the fact that her sister wasn't helping her alongside her, because they were a duo that did writing and directing for many films, and up to this point, it's always been them working on The Matrix. It was something they did together. And maybe that's what's missing, because writing-wise, it's just so different compared to the other film. Like, it's way more comedic. And I don't think it was never meant to be a film series with that type of comedy. It's just... So it feels not only out of place, it just feels so abnormal, so weird. I just don't rock with it. But there is some aspects that, like I said before, I do find interesting. I like that some of the Sentinels are aligning themselves with human, and that programs are able to come out and help build further things with humans. Like I like seeing that type of aspect. I like seeing Jada Pinkett Smith come back as Nubia, and they did a great job of aging her up, and she was able to not feel like a fake old lady. Like she really felt like a older Jada. Like she pulled that out of her bag, and that was excellent. But like, and also let me get more good things out. That like let me. All right. So back for the pod scene when Neo escapes again. Uh, what I liked about this was like I said, the mouth nozzle contraption felt way more slimier, and the what he has to go through with that way more nastier. And I feel like he was more machine this time around, because the first time in the original trilogy, when you escape the pod, you have these holes that's like sockets in your arms, your back, all over your back, like all over. It's like kind of like all over like the back of you. And this time around, like he has like a whole like contraption like from his neck and like top half of his back. So like I thought that was an interesting take, knowing that like he's kind of been rebuilt this time around. But the bad is bad. And it's just like Neil Patrick Harris is just doing his thing, and it just doesn't fit. New Morbius, who's a mix of Morbius and Agent Smith, not really rocking with, not feeling it, not at all. The new version of Agent Smith, man, he has moments where he can really sound like Hugo Weaving, portraying Agent Smith, but like other than that, it was just, yeah. But Neo and Trinity back together, yay! We love them. But like the whole point, I don't know. It's just not one of them ones. This is not a good legacy sequel at all. And if they make another movie after this, I hope the other Wachowski is playing a part in this, because Lana can't hold her own on this. This is just not it. Do I have some things that I like about the film? Yeah, but it's kind of the opposite of how I felt about the Crystal Skull. There's more than me, or like yay. So like if I have to choose between watching Crystal Skull again and watching Resurrection, I would gladly watch Crystal Skull again in a heartbeat. With Resurrection, it's lackluster in almost every aspect besides like somewhat visually. The special effects are still up to par, so they're gonna keep rocking. It's not hard for them in that aspect, but like even the acting is not down. It's about the same, or like maybe it's like a little off kilter, but like Keanu Reeves is gonna do his thing. And this, especially for this film, this is really one of his like biggest breakout roles. Well, the original Matrix is one of his biggest breakout roles. So like he knows Neo like no one else. It's not like, and it didn't feel like it didn't feel like phoned in. Like he did try his best to really bring Neo to this new age. So I'll give him that. But other than that, it's just like, no, I don't really like this film, and I don't see myself coming back to watching it. The only reason I will have to rewatch it if somebody said, I didn't give it a fair chance or something, but like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm ever coming back to this. So, like I said last time, I gave it, it's funny because I really had to update the score, the first time around, before I recorded last time, because before I recorded, I was at like maybe 3, but I was like, the more I talked about it with I had a conversation with my dad, I was like, no, it's at 2.5. And I think I'm gonna keep it there. I think I'm gonna keep it at 2.5. It just wasn't impressive. It wasn't as good as the other films. It's not as good as any other legacy sequels. And it's just, it's just a waste of time. I felt like this is the epitome of quarter-heartedly done. Like this was just 25% of the heart of what made the Matrix franchise good, and it's disappointing. But that's up to y'all to find out for yourselves, to make that decision. So definitely check it out. I'm always gonna tell you to review a film, look at the film as yourself, because don't just take my word as law. I definitely want y'all to form your own opinions, but that's how I felt. Now I decided just to review these three films because I think they encapsulate what makes a good to great legacy sequel, a decent legacy sequel, and a legacy sequel that should never been made. But those are my opinions, and I thought I justified them pretty well. But I would love to have some commentary and discussions in the comments all about them. Before I close, I wanted to just mention 3 legacy sequels that I truly do love. One of them being Halloween 2018, Scream 5, and Scream 6. These 3 legacy sequels definitely got my attention, and I think they just did something great while also revitalizing the franchise, paying homage and the use of legacy characters. Everything about these 3 films really means something to me. So I just want to, give them their praise. Now I have to ask, did you agree with what I have to say about these films, as well as, going over just legacy sequels in general? Have you seen any of these films that have a different opinion? If so, please drop all these in the comments below. Remember to like and to subscribe to help your boy get to 500 subscribers. So share with others so more people can join the party and the conversation. I truly appreciate y'all support and love y'all all for it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again for another Rorvis Reviews. Peace.